It didn't take long for the truth to start cracking through the edges. A few days after Martin made that first payment, another email arrived. Dear Mr. Greene, due to interest and legal fees, your remaining balance is now $9,421.67. To avoid escalation, please remit the remaining amount within 48 hours. He felt his chest tighten. He'd already sent them $3,000. How could it not be enough? He dialed the number again, and once more, the calm, steady voice of Alex from Atlantic Recovery Bureau answered. Ah, Mr. Greene. I see your partial payment has been processed. Excellent. Now, the remaining balance must be cleared to close the account before it's reported to the credit bureaus. Martin hesitated. You told me the payment would settle it. There was a brief silence. Then Alex's tone shifted, just slightly. Sir, if you check the fine print in the settlement agreement, you'll see that was a preliminary payment. The account can't be fully cleared until the total amount is paid. If it goes to collections, the state could freeze your bank account or garnish your Social Security. That word, garnish, hit him like a slap. He'd heard horror stories of retirees losing their checks over old debts. Alex continued, calm and persuasive. I understand, Mr. Greene. You've been cooperative. We don't want to escalate this. But this must be resolved soon. We're under audit. Martin rubbed his forehead. He could feel his blood pressure rising. Everything in Alex's tone felt official, urgent, but never aggressive. Just procedural. That's how they get you. What Martin didn't know was that behind that calm voice wasn't a law office or a finance bureau. It was a rented apartment 2 time zones away, filled with cheap laptops, burner phones, and scripts pinned to a corkboard. These weren't collectors. They were actors. Professional manipulators. Each morning, they logged onto the dark web and bought stolen financial records. Names, addresses, credit card fragments, leaked from old data breaches. They'd print out fake letters using company names that sounded legitimate. Atlantic Recovery Bureau, Federal Asset Solutions, National Credit Trust. Dozens of fake websites, each one designed to mirror real government fonts, colors, and legal phrasing. Their targets? People like Martin, over 50, retired, cautious, and trusting. People who grew up in an era where a letter with a logo and a signature meant authority. They didn't need to hack accounts or break into systems. They just needed to sound real. Meanwhile, Martin kept pacing his living room, rereading every word in those letters. He even showed one to his neighbor, Doug. Doug squinted at it and said, Looks legit to me, man. You don't want that on your record. Those agencies don't play around. That was all it took. Fear, reinforced by someone he trusted. Martin called Alex again the next morning. All right, he sighed. If I pay the rest, this is done, right? Alex's voice softened. Absolutely, Mr. Greene. Once you clear the balance, I'll personally send your final clearance letter and close your case. He sounded sincere, even kind. But before Martin could complete the transaction, something strange happened. He received a voicemail from another number, this time a robotic voice saying, This is an official notice regarding your unpaid balance. Legal proceedings will begin within 48 hours. That's when real panic set in. He called Alex again, frantic. Why are other people calling me? Are you sharing my case? Alex didn't miss a beat. That's the automated system, sir. It's standard once a case enters phase 2. But don't worry, I can stop it manually once we receive the final payment. Martin sat in silence, hand trembling over the keyboard as he opened his banking app. The cursor blinked beside the number, $9,000. And then, a small, nagging voice broke through the fog. His daughter's voice. She'd told him months ago, Dad, never send money to anyone you don't know personally. Scammers are everywhere. He froze. His finger hovered over the send button. Something didn't feel right. He decided to call his real bank, just to check. The woman on the other end, soft-spoken but firm, listened carefully. When he mentioned Atlantic Recovery Bureau, she went quiet. "Sir," she finally said, "that company isn't on any official list. In fact, we've had several reports about them. They're scammers. Please don't send any more money." The words hit him like a punch. "But I already paid them $3,000. "I'm sorry," she said gently. "If it's already been transferred, it's gone. Please contact the authorities immediately." Martin's hands started shaking. He clicked back to the website, only to find it was gone. The link returned a blank white page with one line, 404 not found. He tried calling the number again. "This number is no longer in service." Everything, the company, the website, the friendly voice, had vanished. He sat there in disbelief. $3,000, gone in seconds. But it wasn't just the money. It was the humiliation. He'd always seen himself as careful, level-headed, too experienced to fall for those kinds of things. Now he felt stripped bare, betrayed not just by the scammer, but by his own trust. Later, he found out the FBI had been investigating a large-scale operation based out of multiple states. The scammers had targeted thousands of retirees, using the same voice, the same letters, the same fake logos. They'd stolen over $27 million. And Martin was just one name on a very long list. It started with a single letter. "You owe $22,400. Pay now or face legal action." Martin Greene, 58, almost had a heart attack. He'd paid off every debt years ago. But this letter looked real. The letter looked ordinary. Plain white envelope, no logos, no fancy seals. But when Martin picked it up from his mailbox that chilly Tuesday morning, something about it felt heavier. His name was printed neatly on the front, his address in full, and even the return label looked official. Inside, bold black letters glared at him. Final notice. Balance due, $22,473.16. Immediate action required. He froze. His mind raced. He hadn't owed a cent to anyone in years. His credit cards were paid off, his mortgage cleared, and his car bought in cash. Yet here it was, a document stamped with urgency and threat. At the bottom, the name Atlantic Recovery Bureau was printed, followed by an 800 number and a case ID. It even listed the last 4 digits of a credit card he once used a decade ago. That made his stomach drop. How would anyone know that? He sat down at his kitchen table, his coffee untouched, staring at the letter as if it could explain itself. It looked so real, official letterhead, fine print, barcodes, even a payment portal website link. He could almost hear the voice of his late father in his head, the kind that said, "If you owe it, pay it. If you don't, settle it." After an hour of pacing, Martin picked up the phone. The line rang twice. Then a calm, almost comforting voice answered. "Good morning, Mr. Greene. This is Alex from Atlantic Recovery Bureau. I'm here to help you clear up your account before it escalates to legal status." Alex spoke with precision, polite, confident, never pushy. His tone carried authority, the kind you'd expect from a seasoned professional who dealt with financial matters daily. Martin felt his pulse steady slightly. "Listen, I think there's been some mistake," he said. "I don't owe anyone anything. I haven't had debt in over 10 years. Alex didn't argue. He simply sighed, the kind of sigh that suggested he'd heard this before. "I understand, sir. These old accounts can resurface when banks sell off their portfolios. It happens more often than people realize. All I need is a quick verification, and we'll get this sorted out." Then he began asking for details, date of birth, mailing address, the last 4 digits of his old credit card, all things that seemed harmless to confirm since they were already on the letter. Alex even emailed over a few supporting documents, scanned forms stamped with what looked like legal case numbers, and a PDF of an old credit statement that had Martin's name right there on the top corner. It felt too accurate to be fake. Still, a sliver of doubt nagged at him. So he Googled Atlantic Recovery Bureau. And sure enough, there it was, a polished website with contact numbers, a company address in Delaware, and even client testimonials from people who'd supposedly cleared their debt through them. The site looked professional, clean, official, the kind of thing no scammer could possibly fake. Or so he thought. Martin felt embarrassed that he'd even doubted it. Maybe he had overlooked an old balance. Maybe some bank had revived an ancient credit line. Things like that happened, right? He thought about how much stress legal trouble could cause. Court notices, credit score drops, the shame of having his name in collections again. He didn't want that. He didn't want to leave that mess for his daughter to deal with one day. So he called Alex back. This time, Alex's voice sounded almost reassuring. "You're doing the right thing, Mr. Greene. Let's get this cleared up before it reaches the legal phase. I'll send you a secure link to make a partial payment. Once that's processed, I'll close your file." The email came within seconds. The link opened to a portal with his name, case number, and balance. It even had encryption and a security certificate at the top, https://secured@atlanticrecovery.com. It felt real. It looked real. It wasn't. But Martin didn't know that. Not yet. He filled in the details carefully, double-checking every number. As he clicked Submit, the screen flashed. Payment received. Thank you for resolving your account. A wave of relief washed over him. Finally, problem solved. He could move on, put this behind him, and stop worrying. That night, he told his daughter over dinner, "You know, I finally cleared that old debt I didn't even remember having. They were polite people, handled it professionally." She looked at him, puzzled. "What debt, Dad?" Martin shrugged. "Just something that popped up. Must have been old credit records." She frowned, uneasy, but said nothing. Over the next few days, more letters arrived, confirmation of payment, statement adjustments, final account closure. Each one made him feel more secure, more certain that he'd done the right thing. But beneath that sense of relief, something dark was already in motion. The calls from Atlantic Recovery would soon stop. The portal would soon vanish. And the professional man on the phone, Alex, would disappear from existence. When the FBI report finally came out, Martin sat in his living room, staring at the television. The anchor's voice was calm, detached, almost too calm for what she was saying. Federal investigators have uncovered a massive fraud ring responsible for stealing more than $27 million from seniors across the country. Officials say the group operated under multiple fake business names, including the so-called Atlantic Recovery Bureau. Martin's heart stopped. There it was, his nightmare, now reduced to a headline on the evening news. He turned the volume up, but the words blurred together. Dozens arrested victims in all 50 states. Retirement funds wiped out. Each phrase landed like another weight pressing down on his chest. He thought about that voice. Alex. Smooth, polite, convincing. He could still hear it, echoing in his mind. "You're doing the right thing, Mr. Greene." He wasn't. He'd been tricked. The next morning, he called the number one last time. Just to see. "This number is no longer in service." That robotic message felt colder than any voice Alex had ever used. He sat there, staring at the phone, willing it to ring back. It didn't. The FBI agent he later spoke to was kind, but honest. "Mr. Greene, these operations are sophisticated. By the time the money moves through offshore accounts, it's gone." "I'm sorry." "Gone." The word hung in the air like fog. Martin nodded quietly, though he barely heard the rest. He thanked the agent, said he understood, and hung up. Then he just sat there. The house was quiet. Too quiet. 4 days, He didn't open the blinds. His wife, Linda, tried to make conversation, to distract him. She'd bring him coffee, leave the paper by his chair, ask about dinner. He'd nod, smile faintly, but he didn't really hear her. It wasn't just about the money, though that hurt. It was about the trust. He'd spent a lifetime believing that if something looked official, it probably was. That people were mostly honest, that good faith still mattered. Now, that belief had been shattered, like a mirror dropped on a tile floor. You could glue it back together, but it would never look the same again. Weeks turned into months. He stopped answering the phone altogether. If it rang, he'd just stare at it, waiting for it to stop. He let the mail pile up on the counter, unopened envelopes stacked like a small wall between him and the outside world. Every time he heard a knock at the door, his stomach tightened. He didn't know who to trust anymore. Strangers, companies, even official letters. At night, sleep never came easily. He'd replay the conversations in his mind, every "sir," every "thank you," every "we're here to help." It felt impossible that someone could speak so kindly while planning to destroy another person's life. Sometimes, when he looked in the mirror, he didn't recognize the man staring back. His eyes looked older, heavier. He'd aged a decade in just a few months. One afternoon, his daughter came by. She found him sitting in the same chair, still reading the same letter. The fake one, the one that had started it all. "Dad," she said softly, "why are you keeping that?" He didn't look up. "To remind myself," he muttered. She frowned. "Remind you of what?" He paused, eyes still fixed on the page. "That even the nicest voices can lie." She reached out, gently took the letter from his hands, and tucked it away in a drawer. "Maybe it's time to forgive yourself," she whispered. But Martin wasn't sure how. As the months passed, he started seeing more stories on the news. More victims, more retirees, more heartbreak. Different names, same scam. It made him feel less alone, but not better. Because every story ended the same way. Authorities say the money is unlikely to be recovered. He'd stop the video, turn off the TV, and just sit in silence. Linda once asked him, "Do you think they know what they're doing to people?" He nodded slowly. They know. They just don't care. Then one morning, a new envelope arrived. Different logo, different letterhead, another urgent notice. He didn't even open it. He just stared at it for a long time, then tossed it into the trash. He was done being afraid, done being fooled. But even as he threw it away, he couldn't help but feel that familiar tremor in his chest, that faint, quiet question. What if this one's real? That's the damage scams leave behind. Not just the loss of money, but the permanent stain of doubt. The way it makes you question every call, every click, every person. When he finally went for a walk again, months after it all happened, he realized how much he'd changed. He wasn't angry anymore. Just quieter, more careful. He noticed things he hadn't before, the way people looked at their phones, the way the world had become a place where trust felt dangerous. At the park, a stranger nodded and said hello. Martin smiled back, but something inside him hesitated, that tiny flicker of fear that maybe kindness had a cost. In the end, Martin never recovered the money. But that wasn't the real loss. He'd lost something deeper, something that didn't show up on a bank statement. He lost the part of himself that believed people were good until proven otherwise. The part that trusted a friendly voice, or a letter with a seal. They didn't just steal his savings. They stole his peace, his calm, his faith in decency. And the worst part? They never even saw his face. Remember this, in today's world, the easiest way to steal isn't by breaking into your home. It's by breaking into your trust. No lock, no password, no alarm can protect you from that. Scammers don't need guns or masks anymore. All they need is your confidence. Your belief that the person on the other end of that line, or the signature on that letter, means what they say. They don't come kicking down your door. They walk right through it because you invited them in. And that's the hardest part for people like Martin. People who grew up in a time when a handshake meant something. When companies were honest. When trust wasn't something you had to guard like your savings. But now, trust is the new currency, and scammers know exactly how to counterfeit it. They sound calm, professional, human. They tell you what you want to hear, not what's true. We just want to help. This will clear your name. You're doing the right thing. Every line rehearsed. Every tone measured. Every word designed to bypass logic and hit emotion, the place where fear and hope mix. Because once they have your fear, they already have your wallet. So if you take one thing from Martin's story, let it be this. Trust isn't bad, but blind trust, that's fatal. If someone calls you about money, verify. If someone sends a letter demanding payment, pause. If something feels urgent, breathe. Those 3 seconds of hesitation might save your entire life savings. Because the truth is, real organizations never rush you. Real banks don't threaten you. And real peace doesn't start with fear. Think about how simple the setup was. A phone call, a letter, a name that sounded real. That's all it took to dismantle decades of hard work. Martin didn't lose his money in a casino. He didn't gamble. He didn't take a bad investment risk. He lost it because he believed someone cared. And that's what makes these scams so dangerous. They don't target greed. They target goodness. They look for the people who still believe in honesty, who still give others the benefit of the doubt. That's the cruelest part. So, if you're watching this, if you're retired, or close to it, or helping your parents through those years, please stay alert. Because the people running these scams, they're not hiding in some dark alley. They're sitting in call centers, wearing headsets, rehearsing empathy. They sound like professionals because they are professionals, in deception. They don't just steal money, they steal moments. The smile you lose when the phone rings. The calm you used to feel checking your mail. The trust you used to have in strangers. You don't get those back easily. But here's the thing, you can take your power back. The next time someone calls about debt, hang up. If you get a message demanding urgent payment, delete it. If it sounds too perfect, too urgent, too emotional, step back. Talk to your bank. Call a family member. Double-check before you move a single dollar. Because one fake signature, one forged seal, one carefully worded lie, can erase everything you've spent a lifetime building. And once it's gone, it doesn't just take your savings. It takes your sleep, your faith, your peace. That's what they never tell you. Money can be earned again, but trust? That's the real loss. And the saddest part? The people behind these scams will never see the pain they cause. They'll never see the kitchen tables where couples sit in silence. The older man staring at a phone he'll never answer again. The woman crying over an empty account she thought was safe. They'll never see it, because they don't need to. They already know what it looks like. That's the business model. So, remember this. The next time something looks official, question it. The next time someone says, act fast, slow down. The next time someone promises guaranteed peace, walk away. Because peace isn't something you buy. It's something you protect. And the people who want to take it from you, they'll always sound like they're helping. In this new world, the most valuable skill isn't saving. It's pausing. It's hearing that voice, seeing that letter, and saying, I'll check this myself. No emotion, no fear, just awareness. Because the truth is simple. Scams don't spread because people are foolish. They spread because people are trusting. And trust, real trust, deserves to be protected like gold. So, before you click, before you send, before you sign, Verify. Pause. Breathe. Because one fake letter can change your life forever. And one moment of hesitation can save it.